What's going on, guys? We are Tottenham TV here, back with another episode of the HOTSPAR with John Cooper. John, welcome again back to the channel. I'm feeling good. Feeling a lot better than I was on Thursday, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know about you.
Yeah, definitely.
But on the back of a pretty disastrous week, there was a good end to it, at least, with a positive result against Aston Villa on Sunday, winning 2-0 Villa Park. But with Spurs out of Europe on the back of that horrible performance as well in the North London derby, there were big question marks about a lack of fight and a lack of ambition in a lot of the Tottenham squad, especially with Hugo Lloris calling them out. But with Spurs top of the form table in the Premier League over the last 5 games,
it's
are we in crisis, John?
It's the weird Bermuda Triangle situation, isn't it? Because a few games ago you'd say it was a massive crisis. And then we went on that little run. I did call it after the West Ham game. I said we'd go on a little run after this. Mm-hmm. And now it's actually not looking too bad. It's actually a bit of a glimmer of hope for top 4. So, yeah, I don't know what to say, really. I mean, I still think we're underachieving massively this season. But if we get top 4 and we like nick the League Cup,
pickpocket,
that'd actually be the best season we've had for 20 years. So it's a strange one, isn't it? What do you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think in terms of how the season's gone, I think at the start of the season with the unexpectedly busy summer we had, we kind of maybe heightened our expectations. I think before we signed like Bell and Reguilon unexpectedly, I think most of us would have said aim this season is to get back in the top 4 and nick a trophy. That's the aim. Then when we got the romanticism of Bale, Reguilon came out of the blue, Vinicius also came unexpectedly. We finally signed that striker. Everyone's saying we needed backup striker. Then also you're thinking, well, look at that squad. Could we potentially challenge for a title? Could we really go far in the league with Mourinho? Could he get everyone buying into the way he plays? And it seemed to be working for a while. But I think the problems at the back end of Pochettino have reared their ugly head again, unfortunately. And I think we hoped that they would just resolve themselves and maybe the players would get back on side. But it seems as if at the moment they've fallen back into how they were playing back then. And I think a lot of the players who aren't maybe in the starting 11 having a bit too much influence in the squad, a bit too much influence in how they conduct themselves when they're not being picked, I feel.
How do you mean? Can you give an example of that?
I think, for example, Harry Winks talking, being focused on getting into the England squad as opposed to getting into the Tottenham team. Kind of thing, and maybe when he's not being picked, he's throwing a few things into the press about how unsettling things. I think, and when you're hearing things,
has he done that? I don't know. Did he?
I think he's alluding to Harry Winks and other players who are potentially leaking things to the press when things aren't going their way and when they're on the starting 11. And I think it's no surprise that whenever certain players aren't being picked, all of a sudden we get these rumours that some of the Tottenham team don't trust the way Mourinho's methods and stuff like that. And I think it's definitely unsettling some of the squad. And that's what Mourinho was alluding to after the Villa game. And I think maybe after we had that run going to the Champions League final and stuff like that, a lot of the squad thought they were a lot better than they are. And then all of a sudden they felt like they have a right to be in the team as opposed to having to fight to be in the team. And that's why he picked the team he did on Sunday. Picked hungry players.
Do you know what? I liked that lineup, didn't you?
Yeah, I did as well.
Just a bit. It just freshens it up a little bit and just gave the whole squad an opportunity to sort of prove themselves. You know what I mean? And who was expecting that formation? No one really. We certainly didn't. Did you?
No, I didn't expect him to start with Vinicius.
But why not?
Front.
I mean, give it a go, and it worked. It paid off. So I don't see why you can't, play around with the formations and the lineups.
Do you think?
Because you need that over a whole season, don't you?
Yeah, I agree. Do you think that lineup proved and the way we played? I know it wasn't the most vintage performance, but I think we definitely worked a lot harder than we did against Zagreb and Arsenal. It was definitely
I was surprised by the performance. Actually, I thought it was good.
Yeah, you
yeah. I actually thought, looking at us, it actually looked as though we'd just come off the back of a couple of wins rather than a couple of defeats. There was a sort of a bit of a spiritedness to it. I thought, whether or not the passages of play were that good. I actually thought they were in the first half. I was seeing a lot of good things, especially in the first half. I mean, they looked like they could hurt us at various points, but I did think that we were playing with a little of. It didn't look like there was a hangover or some kind of feeling of sadness amongst the team. The way they were playing. I thought it actually looked pretty decent, I have to say.
Do you think the fact that he's only Lloris, Sanchez, Lucas, and Kane were from that core Pochettino team when he was in charge at Spurs? The rest of them were either young players like Tanganga or younger players, or there were players who are signed by Mourinho who are more eager to impress and more, or maybe felt the importance of them playing well as opposed to maybe just being comfortable in their position. Do you think that made a big difference in the performance, having those hungrier players who understood the importance of the game, rather than players like, say, Sissoko or maybe, say, Winks or Dele, players who have been at the club for a long time and maybe feel very comfortable and don't feel the importance and the need that they have to play well in this game to earn their place?
Yeah, I think quite possibly. I'm trying to think about the lineup now. Can we go through it?
Well, it was Lloris in goal.
Lloris, and then
Tanganga right back, Reguilon on left back, centre back pairing of Rodon and Sanchez, with Højbjerg and Ndombele in the midfield, with Lucas, Lo Celso, Kane and Vinicius.
That's right. There's only 4. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, for some reason I thought there was a lot more from the Poch era, but there's only 4. Yeah, I think maybe. I think you're right. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, some of those old Poch players might feel as though they're too comfortable in their positions, I think, and having like the new ones come in, they do have to prove. They don't have that.
They don't have that urgency to kind of, when they get picked, we have to prove myself today to earn my place. Whereas these players, even like Ndombele and Lo Celso, who were signed last season, I think they still have that in them to say, I need to play, I need to show what I'm about today to really earn my place at the starting 11. Whereas someone like Dele or Sissoko or Winks potentially maybe don't feel that pressure to play like that, because they've been at the club for a while. They maybe feel comfortable in the fact that even if I don't play well, I could still be picked in the future and stuff like that for squads and things, and maybe they don't feel that pressure.
Probably also more comfortable sitting on the bench, maybe, now than they were before. Whereas before they'd feel as though they would get into the side and they'd hold down their place. Now they're sort of used to sitting on the bench a bit more now. So maybe they don't have. Maybe they're thinking, there's not much to play for here, to work for.
And you look at the back line as well. Tanganga, Rodon, Sanchez, Reguilon, all very young defenders, all under 23.
Yeah.
All very energetic, and despite having like maybe a lack of experience in there, they clearly have that energy in there and that enthusiasm to like throw themselves in front of shots and really put their body on the line in terms of defending. Whereas maybe when we had Toby in there, or maybe not Toby specifically, maybe we had Dyer in there or Doherty in there maybe isn't that same enthusiasm to put your body on the line and throw yourself in front of shots.
We saw that from Tanganga. He was doing that, wasn't he? He's absolutely lunging away, wasn't he? I thought he was brilliant. He brought the energy, I thought. Do
you think maybe having those younger defenders, maybe who Mourinho could mould in that sense, as opposed to players like Dyer and Aurier and Doherty, players who are already set in their ways and have harder to coach them into a different way of playing? Do you think maybe that contributed to us keeping that clean sheet heavily, or was it hard to say? Because we were facing a Villa side without Grealish.
There's so many factors to that. There's the Grealish not playing. Probably Villa aren't, on the best of form. Maybe you could say that we were trying to show a bit of a response from, the last couple games. Could be because there was a new lineup, a new formation, hungrier players. Do you know what I mean? There's quite a lot of factors. I think it's difficult to say, isn't it? But I did like the fact that Rodon's playing. Ben said this as well, and I agree. I think I would have liked to have seen Rodon play a little bit more in the past few weeks. But he went with Sanchez, and it's actually paid off because we've won 3 of the 4 games, didn't we? Premiership games before the Villa game.
5. Yeah, before the Villa game.
Yeah. So that's sort of paid off. But I mean, if Rodon was in there, he might have got the same. We still might have won with him. So I guess it's a difficult one now because Sanchez is, apart from the Arsenal game, it's job done, isn't it? But when I've been watching Sanchez, it's like, if you don't time that sliding tackle perfectly, that's a penalty.
That happened even against Villa. Yeah.
But it's one of those things. It's a perception thing because he just about gets it. Everyone's like, "Well done, Sanchez. Oh, he's having a great game." But you're like, oh, if he wasn't quite on it.
But he did time them a few perfectly. And
I know.
I guess he deserves credit for timing them perfectly.
But because he got the ball, you're like, okay, well done. But like, I'm just, another day that was like, he wouldn't have got that, mate.
But do you think maybe with him given more responsibility like he was against Villa, it forced him to step up maybe in that aspect and be more of a leader? Whereas before, when
he's a leader.
Well, as in terms of before, when he's next to a Toby or a Dyer, maybe he
plays co-captain.
He kind of instinctively follows their lead in a sense. Whereas when he's partnered with Rodon, he's actually the more experienced centre back. So maybe it kind of forced him to take on a bit more responsibility in that back line.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know how much leadership they show. Just sometimes looks as though they're just doing their duty, and then it all kind of fits together, cobbles together. But if that's going to help him with the leadership, then I guess it could be good. Could be good, yeah.
One player we should talk about who got on the score sheet on Sunday, and although didn't do too much else, was Carlos Vinicius getting that tapping in the first half.
Yeah.
There's rumours today that Spurs are willing to explore a permanent deal for him, but not at the 45 million release clause, more closer to like the 17 million mark.
Can you imagine 45 million?
Yeah, we're not spending 45 million on Carlos Vinicius. Got his first Premier League goal on Sunday. Do you see? Would you want to get him permanently for you? Do you what do you make of him?
We need a proper quality backup striker, one that actually keeps Kane on his toes in a way. I know that's hard. That's a hard push, but just bringing in someone like Vinicius, that he's not going to Mourinho's not going to trust him to come in and for most of the Premiership games.
Does Kane need someone to stick on his toes?
I think he should. I think there should be a striker like that to keep him on his toes.
But does he? But he performs so well, whether someone's on his toes or not.
No, but Sim, the problem is because we've never really had a striker to keep him on his toes. He gets stretched for the whole season, and he ends up getting a big injury every season.
Hasn't had one this season.
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean, he's been going that way, isn't he? Like with a couple of niggling injuries recently. But that's the problem. How many games has he played this season already?
A lot, yeah.
Ridiculous amounts. And then let's be honest, he does have that annual injury pretty much every year. That's because there's no one's come in to sort of take the pressure off him. I know Son and Moura have sort of done that a little bit, but generally, if Kane is fit, he'll play, and he'll play 90 minutes. So, I think we need a quality striker, because to me, Vinicius is okay. He's decent. Will do well in like the FA Cup or the League Cup or Europa, up to this stage, I'd say. But for me, he's not quick enough, and he's a bit one-footed, and I just don't think he's got the dynamism to really crack it Premiership level. I mean, maybe against the lesser teams he'll do all right, like he did on the weekend. But I really want to see a proper quality striker come in to really keep him on his toes. And no, not Llorente, not a nuisance sub like Llorente.
Nothing wrong with Llorente.
No, but yeah, I know, but he was a nuisance sub, wasn't he?
So what kind of ilk? You saying like a Danny Ings?
That would have been better for me, yeah.
But would Danny Ings come to a club like Tottenham with Kane's first choice? That's the problem we have. Perennial problem is we want to strike a balance between quality and someone who's willing to kind of not be first choice in a way, because Kane's there, and the quality of strikers who are willing to not be first choice. There's not many out there who are good enough to play for us, yet also willing to sit on the bench. That's a very fine line, and I think we're asking a lot to find that perfect striker.
Yeah, but hang on, I've got the mic away from my mouth. If that player did come in and they banged in 4 goals in a game, you'd find a way to accommodate them, wouldn't you?
So are you saying play with Harry Kane or keep Kane on his toes? There's a difference there.
Well, he would start off being more of a peripheral player, and he'd have to earn his stripes. But when he came in, if he really proved himself, then you'd have to find a way to accommodate him, wouldn't you? You could even go play at 2 up top, couldn't you, like they did against Villa? But I just don't like the idea that there's only one striker and no one can come in and no one can keep Kane on his toes. It just puts too much pressure on Kane. He ends up, just getting crocked every year.
No, but it's not about that. Obviously, look, if Danny Ings was willing to come to Spurs, then I'm sure he could get a lot of game time. I'm sure he could really push the starting 11 even to play with Kane.
But what about Dybala? That would have been good.
Yeah, but he can kind of play off the striker, can't he? He's not really a number 9 like
Harry
Kane
Kane
is.
That would have been, that's the quality. That's the quality forward that I think would be good for us.
But there's a difference between that and signing a striker,
an out and out striker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, an out and out striker,
and that's what we're looking for, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. But
and in terms of Vinicius, what more could he have done? He's got 9 starts, scored 10 goals.
But they are in Europa League,
Yeah, but that's who he's played.
Yeah.
He hasn't really played in the Premier League. He's got 2 starts in the Premier League and scored 1 goal.
I think he could have played him. I think he could have played him a little bit more. I do think that. Give him a chance. But
if you're Carlos Vinicius, are you not looking at it and saying, what more can I do?
Yeah, exactly.
To stake a claim in terms of being a really quality substitute striker? What more can he do?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah. He's only
15 goals in his 9 starts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think he could play him a little bit more in the Premiership this season and put a bit more faith in him. I do think that, but he obviously doesn't see enough in him, does he? But
still, with his 10 goals in 9 starts, that's still not enough for you to say. I would if it's
not
available
for Mourinho.
I'm saying for you. Is it to say if we do haggle Benfica down to 17 million?
Yeah.
Is that something you would consider?
Yeah, for me, he's not like top draw, is he? But I mean, we've seen a lot better second string strikers at our club, haven't we? I mean, do you remember, well, if you look at the Harry Redknapp era, I mean, we had about 5 really good forwards, didn't we?
We had Defoe, Pavlyuchenko, Crouch, and
Robbie Keane. No,
yeah,
come on.
Keane was bad then.
No, come on. Let's just say, but do you know what I mean?
In the Redknapp era. In the Redknapp era, he was no good.
Yeah, he had 4 against Burnley, mate. Come on. But he realised that to have strength and depth, in the, with the forwards. But us, it's just all on Kane, isn't it?
Because he's so good.
Yeah, but you can't last for a whole season.
Defoe and Keane, as good as they were, and as much as I love them, they were nowhere
Good Johnson, mate.
Good Johnson as well. They were nowhere near Kane's level. Like, we couldn't rely on them like we can rely on Kane.
Yeah, but you can't rely on Kane to be injury-free all season either.
We're not. That's why we got Vinicius.
Yeah, well.
And Son. People forget Son. Son's a great backup striker.
Yeah.
Son's always got a good record
and
when
Moura.
he has to step up for Kane. And Moura.
Yeah.
Nah, and
well,
Moura.
We need him.
I don't like Moura as number 9. I don't like Moura as number 9. But
Sam, I've got a question for you. Are you more a sexual now?
Turning into it, I think.
Yeah.
Look, I'm really liking what Moura brings. I do. I must say, especially last few games, he's been exceptional. I think for the last month, really, he's really brought a new element to his game, and I've been very, very impressed.
I don't think it is a new element. I think he's always had that in his game, but I just don't think he's been unleashed in that position with so much faith.
I think a lot of the time he's played on the wing. And he's anonymous a lot of the time. He is anonymous, and he doesn't get involved with the game. But that's not what we're seeing at the moment. Oh.
But Ben's nearly wrecking the studio here. But you know what I love about him, and you said this the other. You kind of disagreed with me on this, but for me, he takes risks on the ball. And you said that's one of your frustrations, that he doesn't take risks. But for me, he's always taking risks.
Dribbling from his dribbling point of view, he does take risks, but we know he's so good at dribbling. It's not really a risk, if you know what I mean. Because
but it is a risk every time you dribble. You take on your man.
It's a risk for other players because maybe they're not 100% sure they'll get to this to point B. But he knows if he takes his guy on, he's going to get there. So, but what the risks that he doesn't take, in my opinion, are when he's in and around the box, like playing through balls and things like this. I know he doesn't do those extra things to really commit defense. Like he'll get past 3 or 4 players, and a bit like Dembele. He'll get past 3 or 4 players
at the moment,
or Bergwijn. He'll get past 2 or 3 players and then play out wide and not play a dangerous position. Obviously, he got the assist on Sunday. I'm saying recently he's added a new element to his game, but I'm saying in general, like when he was playing on the wing, he'll get to the byline and not do anything, and that was the most frustration. And one thing also I don't like about Moura, which I want to get your opinion on. He doesn't run off the ball. He doesn't make runs off the ball. He doesn't get in behind teams, like make a run off the ball to really hurt, like get in one-on-one or anything.
He did against Villa.
He did a 1-2 with Kane. Yeah, he did, but he rarely does that.
That kind of thing, though.
Yeah, he rarely does. He very rarely.
I remember you and Ben were
off
talking about he doesn't play off the shoulder enough.
He never does. That's my biggest. He always wants the ball to feet. Always wants the ball to feet. He doesn't want to go long and make runs. And that's why when teams push up, he's never a threat in behind. Even though he's got incredible pace, he's only a threat when there's ball to feet, dribbling past players, never running past players and getting on the end of a through ball. Yeah. And that's one of my biggest frustrations with Lucas.
Yeah, but that doesn't always happen when we're playing against teams. They're playing that high line. He might not get into that position so many times. I haven't seen it where he's had that opportunity lately.
Not lately, but do you get that frustration? Do you understand that? Or do you think that he does?
Well, what you're saying makes sense. I don't really notice that when I'm watching it. Haven't seen that lately anyway. Him
not running off the ball.
No, I just don't know. Maybe the teams have been playing quite flat against us, so you haven't really noticed that. I've just been noticing the brilliant build-up play he's been a part of recently.
I'm saying since he's come to Spurs, I think it's been a problem.
Since he's come to Spurs, I don't know.
I
haven't been tuned into that, so I can't comment.
That's a trait of his, that frustrating. Like if you look at Son, for example, Son always makes those runs off the ball, always trying to get in behind, trying to get an opportunity to get a one-on-one, and that's why he's found a lot by Harry Kane. And Lucas, with his pace, would really seriously hurt defences if he was to attempt that more. Give them something else to think about, because they know that Lucas, because he likes the ball to feet, if they can push up. Kind of, I know he's got good dribbling abilities. There's always a risk they could dribble past you, but if they do push up, they know he always wants the ball to feet.
Did against Ajax.
They can press him. What he did against
second
Ajax.
Goal.
That second goal.
Oh no, the first goal. Sorry, the first.
That wasn't really a run
Kind
in
of.
behind. He nipped the ball off the defender, if you remember rightly.
Did he?
Yeah,
I
he
thought,
nicked the-
I
he
thought it
nicked
was
the
a pass
ball.
by Ali, wasn't it?
Yeah, he nicked the. He would nick the ball off the defender, off the defender's foot to get that run. It wasn't a run in behind over with a ball over the top or a ball in behind.
I'll have to keep an eye out for that.
So I think that's something that does frustrate me with Lucas, and I think if he added that to a game, he'd be a much better player, and that's one of the things that holds him back. But recently, what I like about him isn't necessarily what he offers on the ball, which are obviously great, but what he offers off the ball is just night and day to any of our attackers at the moment.
Yeah.
He's so intense in that pressing.
I was going to say maybe there's a poll question, but I don't think there is. I think it's pretty unanimous that he's, he deserves his place and he's playing out of his skin at the moment. And it's good. And this is the good thing about the season, isn't it? Because for the first third of the season, you'd say first half of the season, that you knew your lineup and you knew the kind of the formation, right? But as your granddad said at the beginning, he said the players that you think are like your Lamellas and your Moras, who you think aren't probably good enough to make it into the starting lineup, are now going to come good later on in the season, and that's when you know it's a squad game. You need these sorts of players.
Yeah.
And then when they come in, they will often look like the best players because they're fresher, aren't they? They've been sitting on the bench for most of the season, so that's when you get that little injection of energy and
I think in all seasons, I think people forget, like people see overarching seasons and thinking this player was great the whole season, and people forget that at different stages of each season, a lot of the time, different people step up at different times. If you remember that season when we got Champions League for the first time,
Lennon and Bale,
like first half,
Lennon was
Aaron Lennon and Jermaine Defoe were killing it. And then Lennon
and Defoe as well.
Defoe. Yeah, Lennon Defoe the first half season were absolutely killing
Lennon,
it.
wasn't he?
He was unbelievable. He was one of the best wingers in the world. Then Lennon got injured halfway through, and David Bentley actually stepped up and played really, really well that second half of the season. I remember that very clearly. And Pavlyuchenko came in the team late in the season and stepped up and got us a few goals. And at different stages of each season, different players do step up for you, and that's what you need in a squad game, because you can't always rely on the same players each and every throughout the whole season for each game. And I think
that's what we're seeing now. That's why Lamella's sort of coming good now. He's doing his August display,
I think a lot of the time we've relied on the same set of players. That's been one of our big undoings throughout the whole season. But do you think under Jose, do you think we've improved from last season under from the team we were last season to the team we are this season? Have we improved?
I think it's about the same, if I'm being honest with you. Like I even said at the beginning of the season, I said we'd finish fifth. And it looks like we're going to finish fifth, doesn't it? And last season we finished sixth, but you could say that that's partly down to the fact that he took over when we were bombing. So that was probably about fifth. His display, what he took over with, and what he did was about fifth place, I think. And I think this season it's going to be about fifth place. So from that perspective, I think it's about the same.
If you compare the table and where we were last season at this stage to this season, last season we had 41 points. This season we have 48. Last season we had 10 less goals scored, and we had 10 more goals conceded.
What's his actual? But are you including the Poch part?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to know the stats from when he took over up until the end of last season to this season. Compare it to, like, let's say ratio out.
Well, it's
Who's our stats man? Ben can be.
It's hard.
That's a hard one to actually find out. No, I was just going to say, is there a way of working out the how would you do it, like the points to game ratio of Mourinho's last season when he took over after Poch to this season, and see if it's like about the same, or if anyone's out there, have we got our Stato Sim's the Stato Sim? He's a stat man. You have to be a 90s kid to appreciate that one.
No one in the chat's gonna get
He's
that.
The stat man.
But I think. But in terms of overall performance, you could argue we've improved. You could argue it. Whether you believe it or not is another thing. You could argue we might be improved.
I think it's about the same, you know.
You think it's about the same?
I think if you look at the points to game ratio, I bet you it's about the same.
Let's see. 1 sec. But while we're trying to get that up,
while we're doing that, what do you think? So you think it's a much improved,
not
slightly
much
improved, slightly improved?
I do think it's slightly improved.
Okay.
I do think it's slightly improved.
Are you talking about what you're watching, as in performance-wise? Are you talking about points, or are you talking
I think performance-wise it's slightly improved.
Yeah.
I think obviously as a points tally. 1 sec. Here we are. Blah blah blah. Premier League. 1920 for Tottenham. But yes, I do think we're underachieving essentially, but especially when you look at the cups, I think to go out to Zagreb like we did was unacceptable, and I think Mourinho has to take big responsibility for that.
Yeah.
To go out to Everton, I know we played well, but to lose 5-4 like we did when we really should have won that game was really, really frustrating. But
I love that. By the way, I love that game. There's something kinky about that game.
Something kinky.
Yeah, even though we lost, it was actually the performance really thrilled me.
Last season under Mourinho, our points per game was 1.73. That was just only the Mourinho part.
1.73.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And this season, under Mourinho, our points per game.
I think it's about the same. You know,
that's
my feeling.
I have a fear it might be worse. You know.
Yeah. Or worse. Yeah.
It is worse. 1.66.
Yeah, I thought so. See me, it's about this. Yeah, so this season's about the same for me. Yeah.
So actually, under Mourinho last year, without the Pochettino part,
there you go.
We're slightly worse.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
But overall, you could argue we are slightly worse. But we do have more points at this stage than we did last season. Also, you look at how close we were to if we look to how close we were to top 4, we were 7 points off the top 4 at this stage last season. Now we're only 3 points off top 4.
Yeah, but that's because of the pot. That's because under Poch we were bombing.
We were bombing.
Yeah, so that's the reason. You got to take that into account, haven't you? So yeah, for me, he hasn't improved, has he? Really, when you look at it like that. I mean, that you can measure. That you can measure like as a metric, can't you? It's like black and white.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to disagree with that.
I mean, what could you say to argue that we're better? In what way?
Just where we are.
It looks
on the
good.
table.
Kane looks good.
Kane looks better. The
partnership with Son looks good. That's improved. No, that is one thing that's improved, because my gripe with Son and Kane, well, they were brilliant, but they were far too selfish when it came to the to setting each other up. Like when they got a sniff of goal, they would just go for it even though there was like open goal for the for the other one. This season they've really made an effort to build a partnership and a chemistry and like set each other up, and in many cases like be unselfish. They do tend to, but Kane is still very selfish in the box, because I guess he feels like probability-wise it's better just to shoot,
Probably with his finishing ability.
Yeah, but that's definitely improved this year. The willingness to want to help your partner out.
Yeah,
to build that partnership up.
Yeah,
so that to me is improved.
I think it's more of a conscious effort. Because he has been less selfish, I think, this season, Harry Kane. That's for sure. But I mean,
Ndombele's improved this season.
Mm-hmm.
He's now able to play 90 minutes. Last season he couldn't really play at all. When he did his like little cameo appearances. Then this season it was 60-minute appearances. And then they obviously watched the show because we said he needs to play 90 minutes. Then the next game he played 90 minutes. He's played 90 minutes ever since, hasn't he?
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's it. Ndombele's improved.
I think Højbjerg is.
I think there's few players have got worse though.
Like who?
Lloris.
You think he's got worse
than last season? Yeah.
I don't know if he's got worse.
Yeah,
I don't think he's got worse.
Definitely.
I think he's going through a sticky patch at the moment. But in terms of, I thought
he was really good. Oh well, the first half of last season he was a bit mediocre, but then the second half of last season he was really good.
Yeah, and the first half of this season he's also excellent.
Was he excellent?
He was. I was looking back at our half-season ratings. We gave Lloris a 9 out of 10.
Maybe it's a bit of recency bias.
It is a bit
because I'm looking at it the last few months. But
recently he's been a bit off it. But I think by and large this season, I don't think he's gone backwards. Because people were criticising him at the beginning of last season, and then when he came back from that big injury, I think he was all right. He was actually pretty good up until recently.
I don't know. I'm just looking at it now and just thinking, I think we need to sell him. That's kind of how I'm judging it, So I don't know. Maybe I'm just taking a snapshot of the last few weeks.
We might need to sell him, and he's been linked now with moves to Paris, moves to Nice as well in France. Potentially one last move, and we're being linked with a Lille goalkeeper who's got 1 year left on his contract. He's a bit younger, 24 years old, and he plays for them. They're challenging for a title in France. You think it's best to move on Lloris at this point?
I think so. I don't know, it just doesn't, from what I'm watching at the moment, I don't know, it still annoys me that I can see that he stays on his line a little bit too much. He doesn't cover his angles.
But what did you make of his interview?
It still frustrates me.
What did you make of his interview after the game against Zagreb?
Well, it was good that he sort of was vocal, and he he wants more from the team. And when he had a dig at Son, Was that? I can't remember when that was now. You know, when he had a pop at, it was early this season, wasn't it? And he said, "Don't make." Was it back in the last season? Yeah. My the pandemic screwed my timeline up a little bit, but that was good to see. I thought, you know, just the fact. Oh yeah, it's in the documentary, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So he's obviously very vocal, and he's actually more vocal than I thought he was. The documentary showed me how he's actually more vocal.
Yeah.
Did you not think that as well?
I agree.
I was like, whoa, he's actually really vocal. He kind of looks as though he's a little bit quiet, I think, because generally he's quite pensive. He's quite
well, people used to say that about him, like he leads by example. He's a massive shouter, but in the documentary, he definitely did not give off that impression. Yeah, that was actually quite surprising. So he does actually, he obviously does. He's quite vocal with the team, isn't he? And that was good to see. But I actually think, personally, I would move him on. What do you think? Yeah, I would. Yeah. I think if he wants to leave and we can get some money for him, I think I think it might be best to start thinking about the future in that position. Yeah. But if he was to stay, I don't think I wouldn't be angry about it. Yeah. I don't think he's a bad keeper. I think even if he was to stay out of his contract, I wouldn't have any issue with that.
The one thing that I see with Lloris, he reminds me a little bit of Fabian Barthez. You know, not the tallest. Kind of like his main skill is agility. He's very good at getting down low to shots, but to me, he's not big enough. He doesn't have a big enough frame. He doesn't command his area enough. Now he's starting to let in shots quite easily. Like the hard shots, he sort of squirms in, you know. He doesn't cover his angles well enough. He stays on his line too much. He's good at like claiming crosses and stuff like that. I think he's good at that. I think he's quite reliable. But and he picks up like the ones that like straight down the throat. I think he that's bread and butter for him. You know, he doesn't make gaffes like that. He doesn't play like the rush goalie so much. So there's less of that in there. But I just think because his main strength is agility, that's a sort of a young man's aspect of his game. And I think because he's getting older, that's sort of, we're losing a little bit of that from him. And I think we now need to revert back to a keeper that's got a bit more presence about him, a bit better shot stopper.
Maybe a hungrier keeper as well.
Yeah.
Someone who's more like, someone who's more eager to impress.
Because to me, Lloris just doesn't save you in those big games, in those moments where you just need him to pull out a big save. He just doesn't seem to step up. You know,
I think he has done in the past.
He has stepped up in like saving penalties in the Champions League season, but when you just need him to pull out a superhero performance, you just never really see it. You know, and that's the sort of thing I'd say about Lloris. But he's a tidy goalie, I'd say. But I personally, I would move him on.
Billy Hud with the super chat says 5 players you want out and 5 players you want in. #rebuild.
Should we come up with our 5 together? So we have to battle. So like we have to.
My 5 players I want out.
And I'll do my 5, and then we have to make our 5.
All right.
Your 5, my 5. And then
Who do we get in?
Yeah.
Well, 5.
Put your case forward. Put your case forward for 5.
Okay. My 5 I would want out. Wait,
what? Whoa.
Sissoko.
That was a Freudian slip there. Your subconscious knew to.
Sissoko, Doherty.
Yeah.
Definitely want them out. Dyer, I want him out. I think time's been and gone for him. Who else want out? Dele, I want him out. I want to sell Dele.
Yeah, controversial.
And probably.
Are you going to say it?
Probably Winks.
What?
Probably Winks.
Oh my goodness.
Probably Winks.
Wow.
That'll be my 5, I think. Those are the.
Yeah.
Those
Everyone,
are the
can we believe this? So does that mean I won the debate?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so back in the day. But I don't think it's a quality thing.
What? Of course it's a quality thing.
I think it's a mentality thing. I think he thinks he's better than he is.
But if he had quality, then he would be as good as he thinks.
No, I think I think he feels like he does need to fight for his position.
But if he was good enough, he wouldn't be on the bench to fight for his position.
I think mentality does come into your quality anyway. So I do fair enough. So I think
so he's not like Iniesta then.
No, he's not like Iniesta. Only maybe like Xavi then. Only like Xavi, not Iniesta.
Okay. Do you know what? I think I'm gonna have to agree with you on those 5. Well, let me think. Sissoko, Doherty, Dyer. You said those 3. Thing about Winks. Okay, this is like he is going to be good in like the FA Cup the first few rounds, and he's going to be useful in the Europa for the knockout for the group stages. So, I mean, you do have to keep some sort of squad players, don't you? But he's not good enough.
Well, we've got Skip coming back, so like that negates
I would get rid of Davies. Yeah, I'm just bored of him.
Ahead of who?
I'm bored of him.
And put Sesame on there.
I just don't want to see Davies anymore. It just frustrates me. It just makes me feel as though we're not moving forward.
So who are the 5 would you take out?
So who's the other one that I didn't include
Sissoko,
there? Yeah, I'd get
Dyer, Sissoko, Dyer, Winks,
Doherty,
Dele, and Doherty.
I wouldn't sell. I maybe wouldn't sell Dele.
The only reason I would sell Dele is because I think in his position, I think we're fairly well stocked.
Yeah.
And I think he's one of the most sellable assets we have in terms of his age, his potential, how good he can be. I think we'll probably get at least 45 million for him, and that can give us more money to rebuild. So I also think he's been off the ball for so long now. I'm getting too frustrated with him, and I'm starting to question whether he's willing to break his neck to get back in the team. I don't know whether he is.
So we agree on all those apart from that one.
Delhi, yeah.
So should we do a poll? Should we do a vote? Should we do a...
What,
so
who 5? Those are the 5 I would want out, I think. But
can I put my case forward for Davies then?
Yeah.
I just feel as though he's been with us a long time now. I know he's one of those players that's happy to sit on the bench and just play when he's called upon. And yeah, it takes him a few games to get going, and then he sort of plays all right. And then like if someone's injured, he'll have a sustained period of time in there. But for me, like, it's just so frustrating to watch Davies on the ball. Like every time he gets the ball, you saw this against was it can't remember which game it was recently anyway. It was maybe Zagreb. Did he start against Zagreb? Yeah. He gets the ball, he drives forward, and he's got no one in front of him for 30 yards, and he just cuts inside, does a little square pass. And he does that all
forward, he just waits into the
I think he did it. I think he drove forward in the first minute, and after that it was just like, it's just so frustrating how he just doesn't have any ability just to move forwards, with the ball. And I think we could replace him. We could either get Sessegnon back, or quite like Robinson.
From Fulham?
Yeah. Player like him to be a second string and like maybe work his way in as a first choice. Yeah.
I like Sess.
I think Sessegnon should be given a spot as...
Davis is 27, not 30, says Alex Ball.
He looks like he's 30, doesn't he? Yeah.
But he's actually been us for a while, since 2014 now.
Yeah.
So he's been us for a long time. But I think Davis is, when he's back up, I think he's fine. He's a fine backup left back.
But
I think he's okay when you're relying on him to play week in, week out. You walk into a bit of trouble.
You'll find that he will be in the team for a series of weeks just because of injuries and stuff. I don't know. I've just had enough of him.
How much do you get for him? 10 million, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know how much you get for him.
I just feel like Delhi. I feel like I've lost this hope that I had that he was ever going to get back to his best.
He just doesn't fit in anymore, does he?
Yeah, I think it's just better to go a separate pace. He needs a new challenge, I feel. I think he needs a new environment. I think when he's got his what did he say in the documentary? They're not friends, they're family, right?
Yeah.
With Dyer, best mates with Dyer. And look, it's great that he gets on so well with all these Spurs boys, but I feel like he doesn't feel that pressure that he needs to take every performance to get in the scruff of the neck. I feel like he's so comfortable at Spurs sitting on the bench. He's very comfortable being with his mates all the time. It's like he probably comes into, he's like going to school every day, being with having banter with his mates all the time.
But to be fair, I have noticed when he's come on in the last few games, he has shown an effort. I can see he's really showing an effort. But the worrying thing is he's shown that effort and he's still been hasn't been sharp. Still hasn't been good. I know you need a run of games, but still it looks a little bit ropey, I think.
Yeah, I just when I look at in terms of how much money we could potentially get for him, I don't see that potential money coming from any other player we have in the squad who is as not vital as Delhi.
Yeah.
So
I could see that argument actually. I could see the Dele Alli argument there.
And I think it'll be good for him. It'll be good for us, and I think. I think that's just the way I see it at the moment, because Delhi hasn't really had a good season since 2018, probably 2017.
2017. Yeah.
So
I actually think the 2018 season he was poor, but he had he scored a couple of goals against Real Madrid. Everyone thought he was like,
scored a brace.
Yeah.
Well, look, I thought, and he scored a brace at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah.
That season.
Good goal that as well. So you've changed your tune with Dyer. That's surprising.
Dyer, well.
Because earlier this season you did a ratings and you had him like quality. You had him like the top tier. And I was like, guys, what are you doing? And you're like, he's quality. What are you saying?
We had him as a 9 out of 10 or something. I thought, or we gave him an A in our half-term report at the beginning of the season in November when we were sitting top of the league. And to be fair, I thought he was having a good season, Dyer. Yeah. And I thought he was kind of giving away goals from set pieces and stuff, but he wasn't. I think we went through that period where we only conceded like 2 goals from open play or something for a large period, and I thought he was a big part of that. But since mid-December, early January time, he's been woeful, and he hasn't appeared in any of the past 5 Premier League games.
You know what I'm really worried about is if Mourinho did get sacked and we got a new manager in, like it might reset the Dyer clock, and then like that manager might give Dyer another and then we got to go through it all again until like the manager sort of sees what we see, and then
I think Mourinho believes in Dyer more than most.
What? Yeah, of course, because he reinstated him into the side, didn't he? And there's a Portuguese connection there, and I think they are kind of unofficially friends, So there was that kind of bit of loyalty. There was some kind of loyalty there, but I think even then, that's like had a bit of a shelf life, hasn't it? And he's seeing what we've seen with Dyer.
Or maybe he's starting to see what Poch started to see when he was starting to phase him out at the moment. And I think Dyer thought of himself, he thought he was going to reinvent himself as back as a centre-back like he was when he first came. And I think he thought the transition was going to be smoother than it was, because it just hasn't been what we thought, unfortunately. I think he has had some good games, but ultimately, on a consistent basis, he's costing us goals.
Yeah.
And that's that's why
But the thing is, he's done that every season. Every single season he does this. That's what I don't understand. Why has it taken this long for people to see this? Why is he back in the England squad? It doesn't take much to be in the England team, does it? It really doesn't take much. I mean, come on. I mean, that's not really a benchmark of anything, is it?
No, it's not.
Actually, it's almost like the opposite. It's almost like a bit of an embarrassment to play for England these days.
Joe, the super chat says, 3 points from fourth in a cup final, above Liverpool and Arsenal in the table,
amazing, isn't it? And
people think we're in crisis.
What do you? I never asked you the question. I mean, how would you say it? Do you see it as like a crisis or a?
We are kind of in crisis.
Yeah.
Because I feel like another loss and like everyone's going to lose their shit again.
Yeah.
And I think that I feel like yes, we got a good result against Villa and we actually are in decent form overall in the Premier League, but it's kind of on flimsy ground.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like paper thin ground. And I
two
feel
defeats
like
and
one or two defeats in a row, and we're plunged back into crisis mode, and we'll start writing off top four again and things like that. And it's kind of like, we've got some tough games coming up: Newcastle, Man United, and Everton next 3. If we lose one of them, then we're probably back in crisis mode again.
Everyone will be coming on saying Jose out,
and everything.
Yeah.
And
although if we win the next 3 games, you'll get loads of callers saying, "I told you to trust Jose."
Yeah, it's true. But if we do win those next 3 games, then we're going to the cup final in great form.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue that Jose wouldn't be doing at least a decent job.
I'll tell you what, the difference is when we play well, it's when Kane plays deep and gets involved. Against Villa, he was playing a lot deeper than he did the previous 2 games, and he was really mucking in. He was like the linchpin of everything. But when he doesn't play that role, we look crap, don't we? Mm-hmm. He looks anonymous, and there's nothing stringing through the midfield. It's just sort of Ndombele trying to perform miracles. And it just we get overrun. But when Kane drops back, he is the one that it just everything goes through him, and he's able to connect the dots.
But when he drops back, we need runners. We need people pushing forward, and sometimes he can drop back, and we don't have that, and we can equally look as bad as if, because if there's no run running ahead of him, he can still look quite isolated. I feel he needs to be able to drop back and have the fullbacks or the wingers really exploiting that space that is left for him by dropping that back to really push forward the team forward, and that's when we look at our best. But when he drops back and he doesn't really have people around him to play off, then we can also look equally quite bad, I feel.
Also, I wish he wouldn't go into the penalty area so much to defend. That's just my own personal thing. Yeah, that's just my own personal thing, because I think
he does it mainly from corners and stuff.
I know, but I'd rather.
That's what Drogba used to do for Chelsea.
Yeah, I know, but I'd rather he didn't do it so much, because what happens is we lose a little bit of the outlets, the outfield outlets from that, and we all kind of lose our shape, and it takes a while to sort of reset into that position. You know what I mean? So I can see why he's doing it.
So not from every
corner. He's good in the air, and
he's
tall. He's good in the air, but I just think, because if you think about it, if we create a breakaway, then he isn't going to be in position, is he? So, and not every corner you have to defend. Some corners he's
kind of better at starting breaks instead of finishing them, I feel.
But I mean, it's going to take him a while to get up the field, isn't it? Whether if you're actually on the edge of the area, you're able to get on the second ball or have a Lo Celso there or someone like that, and then you can be in the position quickly.
But I feel like we have Kane in the box, and then on the corner we'll have Son and Lucas on the edge of the penalty area.
That's what it should. Yeah, that's okay. But I mean, I would like to see it where he doesn't have to always go back and defend every single corner. Personally, that's just my own personal opinion. But and then
Manny Man says, "Does Foyth sound so bad now?" Foyth is having a good loan spell at Villarreal.
No.
He's played right back, centre back, defensive mid. Would you consider having him back at Spurs?
No, because I don't think the Premiership's cut out for him. He's got the frame of Tom Carroll. I think he gets caught out.
Oh, why can't he be like a John Stones, that kind of defender? Very composed.
He's
on the
more
ball,
physical. He's got a better physique.
Is he?
Yeah, he
John
has.
Stones?
Yeah.
Foyth
has got the physique of a noodle.
A noodle.
Yeah. For me, he just gets pushed off the ball too easily.
But can't he develop a bit physically?
Look at him.
Let's see how he's developing.
I wonder what his weight is. I think his weight's probably...
I don't know.
It's probably not even 10 stone, is it?
I don't know his weight.
Let's look up his weight. I'm going to have a look at his weight.
This is what we do on the HOTSPAR. Look up players' weights. That's him. Look, that's a picture of him this season. Is he that different to like a John Stones? He does look a bit lightweight.
Why? Is. No, he's too lightweight.
Let's compare him to John Stones.
It doesn't say their weight.
I don't know.
Where can we find his weight?
Weights there.
Well, people's weights are changing all the time.
That's a shame.
Here, look. One sec. That's like a John Stones.
No, come on, man. He's nowhere near like a John Stones physique. Look at the pecs on John Stone compared to Foyth. Foyth has got the physique of like a 14-year-old.
But he's a bit older, John Stones, than Foyth. Foyth is still like 21, 22.
Yeah,
he can still develop a bit physically.
He's got a long neck though, isn't he?
He does, and he does have a long neck. But do you not feel like he could be a player who, if he did develop
69 kilograms.
Is that how much he weighs?
Yeah. What's that in stone? God, he's not even 11 stone.
That's less than me.
Yeah, he's not even 11 stone. I think to be a Premiership footballer, you've got to be at least, I don't know, at least 11 stone, I'd say.
Yeah, but if he can put weight on and gain some muscle, do you not think he could be a really good player? Or he's still not
potentially,
convinced?
but when I've watched him, he just looks too lightweight. He's not robust enough. Gets caught out.
He's very versatile as well. Plays defensive mid, centre back, right back.
I think it's the wrong league for him. I think he'd look good in La Liga, Serie A, but Premiership, maybe against the bottom teams, I think he'd look all right, but against the top teams, no, not for me.
Okay, fair enough. Charlie THFC has put a tweet to us. It says, here's a point for your show. Under Poch, we had a big issue breaking down low block teams, even at our peak. What are your thoughts on this? I think we have actually improved that part of us this season. Maybe bring up some previous games and compare them.
What, from the Poch era?
Do you think we are better at playing against a low block team now than we were against peak Poch? I don't think.
I don't think we are. No, I think. Do you know what? The one thing that I thought we were really good at beating the low block under the Poch era was Danny Rose. He was a weapon, and also I would say Dele Alli. I'll tell you why. Because Dele Alli fitted into the Poch team better than he did the Mourinho team, because he was able to play that lazy player, just able to do the little flicks. Mm-hmm. He was the one that just picked the lock when the teams played that low block.
And when he's given time on the ball.
When he's given time on the ball, and we're camped out in the opposition's half, he was able to. You could see him. He was like doing little nutmegs and just being like the kid in the school ground. But now he's unable to do that role, so now he doesn't look as good. But I think Dele Alli played an important role in penetrating the low block under the Poch era.
I think the
and
whole
Danny Rose
as
well.
Of the time about low blocks, like we've always had trouble beating low blocks. I think it's a bit of a misnomer. I think am I using that right? I think I am using that word right.
No, you're using it.
I think it's a bit of a misnomer, because I think everyone, in terms of being a low block, those are always going to be the games a lot of the time that you struggle with, because teams play a low block for a reason, because it works. When you play a low block, you make yourself hard to beat, and you're doing it purposefully, sitting deep, giving very, very little chances, because that's how you feel is the most effective way of playing teams sometimes who are better than you. And they do genuinely work with a lot of teams. So when people say, we've always had team problems with the teams in this low block, well, usually the good teams anyway, that's who they do struggle against a lot of the time, is teams with a low block. Because it's always going to be harder to beat them.
Do we struggle more now than before?
Now, look, I mean, I don't know. Like I remember that period in the second half of the season under peak Poch, when we beat Watford 4-0, we beat Bournemouth 4-0. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess you could say maybe they weren't a low block, but I remember actually against in the peak Pochettino era, we were very good against low block teams. I felt, because we would suffocate them, we'd give them no avenue to get out, and because we were pressing so far up the pitch, we would literally press them literally in their own box, and because we had the back four of Rose, Walker, Toby, Kobe and Jan on their prime, and we had Lloris sweeping also behind them, we could literally press all the way up.
Yeah, we did.
Knowing that they had no outlet going forward. They always went long. We would win the ball back very, very quickly,
Yeah.
and we'd just keep coming back and coming back and coming back, and they could do nothing. It's not the same now. I feel like we have done well in a lot of games against low block, and sometimes haven't always got the result. For example, when we played Newcastle early in the season, they did an extremely low block. I don't even remember.
Yeah,
they
I
were
remember.
so low. They literally didn't have one touch in our path, basically, the whole game. And we created loads and loads of chances, but we only took one of them. And Darlow had a mad game, and then they scored that penalty right at the end. But I think a lot of the times this season, I think sometimes we have struggled against the low block. I don't think it's been
so
our
as
main
well.
thing, but I think we have sometimes struggled. I
Yeah.
don't think we're as good as we were under peak Pochettino.
I was also
this
just
season.
thinking this. How many goals have we scored from outside the box this season?
Probably a lot.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Harry Kane has scored a lot. Son has scored a lot.
Mm.
Harry Kane has scored at least 2 or 3 from outside.
I can
the
think
box.
of 2 Kane's done. I know.
One against West Ham.
What, Kane?
Yeah.
And also Palace.
One against Palace.
Yeah.
Son scored one against Arsenal.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking. What else?
Did Bell against Burnley? That was one of kind of outside the box.
I'm not sure there's been that many from outside the area this year. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
but
I'm wrong.
How many
someone
in
in
a
the
given
comments.
season do a team score? Probably not that many.
I think we scored more goals from outside the area under Poch. Could be
than
wrong
we
on
do
that,
now.
but yeah. I don't know if we scored, but I don't know. Maybe it's just a perception
I don't know
thing.
about that. But in terms of
We've scored 8 goals from outside the box this season.
Have we?
8 goals, that's probably near
That's
the
actually-
high. I reckon
yeah,
that's
that's
in the
actually quite
higher
high,
end. That's
actually.
quite
Yeah,
high.
maybe
I
that
reckon
is
it's in the
quite high.
higher end. In
We've got
terms
Ben
of-
on the stat watch here.
But that's probably all competitions, right? Or just Premier League?
Højbjerg against
that
Liverpool.
Just
Yeah,
Premier League. Højbjerg against Liverpool.
yeah, that's a good one.
So look, we've had a
In
few.
16-17 we scored 12 the whole season.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
So
so
probably
we're
on
4
par. We're
behind.
probably
It's on par then.
probably on par.
Season was 13.
Okay, yeah.
There you go. So we're not too far behind.
Not too
It's
far
pretty,
behind.
Pretty
Maybe
similar.
it's just a perception
It's pretty
thing.
similar. I think a lot can come down to perception. But I think at the moment,
Then,
The most this season is Leicester with 11.
11,
Okay.
and we're on 8, so we're not too far behind the top team.
Tanguy versus Wolves. Was that from outside the
Yeah,
area?
Tongi versus Wolves. That was also.
Let me just. Can I throw another question in
Go
here?
on.
Slightly different.
Please.
What's your top 3 goals, Spurs goals of the season?
This
In
season,
from 3 to 1.
Didn't we already go through this?
No, we did this off camera.
from 3 to 1, I go for Lamella against Arsenal. From 3 to 1.
We didn't do this last week, did we?
I can't remember if
I
we
can't
did this
remember.
last week or not.
In the watch along, I think you asked us.
Oh
I
yeah,
think you might have
in the
done
watch
watch
along.
along. But I
But as
said
it's in
3 is Son against Arsenal, 2
Yeah.
is Ndombele against Sheffield United, and 1 is Lamella against Arsenal. That's my top 3
Yeah.
for the season.
Damn, I agree.
But you could have put Dele in there against
No, I don't
Wolfsberger.
know. No, he wasn't pressurised on the ball for me, Dele Alli, in
Last
that.
season we only got 6 from outside the box. Man City got 18.
Oh wow.
Wow,
Okay, so
that's
not many goals from outside the area
We're
last
scoring more
season.
from outside the box.
Only 6 apparently. Ben said.
In terms of the Gareth Bale, I haven't discussed this yet, have we?
Okay,
Gareth Bale.
no, go on. About his comments.
Yeah, his comments. We've discussed it in our video. People kind of going crazy yesterday when reading the comments from Gareth Bale saying that the plan at the moment is to go back to Madrid, and then that's as far as he's planned. And the original plan was always to spend 1 year at Tottenham, and he wanted to play football first and foremost, but he also wanted to get fit for the Euros. What did you make out of those comments?
I just think that's just what footballers do. It's just like these empty platitudes that they do. They're well trained to be able to say the right thing, because he is still contracted by Real Madrid, so they know that they have to sort of say that in their comments. You know, I wouldn't see that as any kind of intent. You know, with what he's saying, it's just that's kind of just a typical thing that footballers say.
So what do you make of the reaction to the comments? Do you think
What?
it's just a timing thing?
I haven't seen the Spurs reaction.
Yeah,
the fans.
just like fans' reaction.
I haven't
A
seen
lot
many
of
of them.
fans
So
getting
what
very
they
angry,
say?
saying he's disrespected Tottenham, or saying that he's used Tottenham as a training camp to get fit
No,
for
I
the
don't think
Euros.
so. I don't think so. I think they just, like I said, I think they just say that because they are still contracted and they have a certain level of professionalism where they have to still say what's relevant. You know.
Do you think maybe it's just a frustration born out of how the loan has gone thus far? In terms of it went well. It went well like in February, he had a couple of games or two or three games where he was playing really well, and we thought, okay, maybe Bale could be back to his best. And then against Arsenal was completely woeful. Against Villa, he didn't play at all. And so maybe when you read these comments, and he's kind of maybe
like passive aggressive. You mean he's like he's dropping it in?
Maybe fans are reading it as if he's already thrown in the towel on the loan move kind of thing, and saying, I'm already planning on going back to Madrid, and there's no chance I'm staying.
He also did say, it's good. It's good to get away from the club squad.
Well, he said it's good to, but he did say that. He said it's good to get away when things aren't going well, and you can concentrate on it's a different environment, and it can benefit. Do you think he was kind of?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it could be like a little passive aggressive dig, but I don't get it. To me, Bale's not the malicious personality, is he?
Do you think at the moment our money's spent better elsewhere than giving Bale a second year, even if he has a good end to the season, better end to the season?
How much is it going to cost us?
Still, probably we could do another loan deal, same terms, so another 220 grand a week.
I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so. Unless he really just shows something in the next few games, but I can't see.
Do you think if we got a different manager, do you think that could help the situation or not really?
Potentially, because then he'd play him a lot more, and he could, play with a lot more freedom.
If we had a more, maybe arguably offensive manager who likes to concentrate on having possession in the opposition half, and maybe in that kind of environment he might thrive a bit more than, say, a style under Jose, where a lot of the time we're defending, a lot of the time we have to press a lot with a lot of intensity, and maybe
is it worth 20 million though? However much it's going to cost us.
Well, think about it. If Bale, with the quality he has, are we going to find someone better than Bale for that money in terms of his quality? It's going to be tough to find, because I think in terms of his ability, world class ability.
But under Mourinho, is he going to? If he's only going to play a bit part, then I'm not sure if it's going to be worth it. Not for that money anyway.
I mean, hasn't really the romance has kind of left this kind of situation at the moment. Obviously, if he does score a winner against City in the cup final and stuff, the whole deal would have been worth it. But at the moment, just for those month pretty much where he played well,
exactly,
we can't really say that it's been worth it so far.
Under the current regime, I can't see it working out for another season.
I think the frustration is that he got back to his best, or perceived anyway, and then when he had the opportunity and to really show what he's about against Arsenal, when we really needed him, he didn't show up, and that's one of the biggest frustrations. And then these comments probably feed into that frustration, and I think that's where you get the reaction that we got from a lot of Spurs fans. But I kind of agree. I think for me it was kind of just vague football jargon, I'm going to be back at Madrid at the end of the season and see what happens kind of thing. And I think there wasn't too much to be read into it, in my opinion. But a lot of people did, and I can understand the frustration. But you don't think he'll be here next year?
I can't see him staying personally. I can't see Levy paying for it anyway.
And according to Mourinho, on the Mourinho thing, according to Fabrizio Romano, I'm just reading here, it says if Tottenham want to sack Mourinho, they'll have to pay him until he finds a new club, as there is no break clause. That's what he's claiming. Could that impact our decision in sacking Jose? Do you
say that one again? Sorry.
If we do sack Mourinho, we'll have to pay him until he finds a new club, as there's no break clause.
Yeah, was it 15 million a year?
I think that's how much we pay him.
Yeah,
15
you've
million
got to keep him. That's the problem.
Do you think so? Do you think
I just think what's our financial situation like at the moment? I mean, we've got the stadium costs, that we're, repaying, and then we've got 15. We're still paying off Poch as well, aren't we? What's that? 4 million a year. And how much was left on that? Two more seasons. Before?
We're still paying off. Not since he's gone to PSG. I don't think we're paying him off.
Okay.
I think until he
how
found
much
a
were
new
we
club.
Paying him off? Yeah. Okay. So then now we're imagine selling Mourinho. That's 30 million, isn't it?
A lot of money.
Yeah.
Could spend now some players.
God, I wish he'd just given the money to Poch for a rebuild.
But do you honestly think that when Levy thinks about whether a manager needs to go or not, that kind of comes into it, especially when he's made him one of the most expensive managers in world football?
I think he's going to have to keep him, isn't he?
You think so, based on that?
Well, what's he going to do? I mean,
surely does it not outweigh the risk when if you're not going to qualify for Champions League? You could argue if you sack him, maybe you up your chances of qualifying for Champions League the next season.
So what would you do?
Worth it. I mean, no, I personally don't think Mourinho is the biggest problem at Spurs right now. And I think if we can shift some of the players we were talking about before, who I think need to go, and get a squad of players who are all on board and on side with him, I think we can be good. And I think we can. He's shown he can get results when he's got an 11 on the pitch who are completely fighting for him. I feel like once we have players who maybe aren't all on the same page, then when the fractures start appearing, then we have problems. And I think even in the first season under Pochettino, we saw that kind of element to it. Because first season under Poch, we had that
fifth,
problem.
didn't we?
We did finish fifth, and we got to a cup final. But that was after he weaned
Ironically,
out
that's what could happen this season.
Yeah,
it has happened.
We'll first win a cup final.
Half of it.
And stuff like that. But when we had players in the team like Adebayor, Andros Townsend, Nabil Bentaleb, Paulinho, Capu, Aaron Lennon as well at the time. It caused a fractured dressing room, and we did have really bad results that season. I remember we lost 1-0 at home to West Brom. We lost 2-1 at home to Stoke. We lost 3-0 away to Stoke. We lost 1-0 away. We lost 1-0 at home to a Tim Sherwood managed Aston Villa. That was really poor. I remember us losing 2-1 away to Crystal Palace. It wasn't plain sailing. For Pochettino in the early years of him, especially when a lot of the players weren't behind his way of managing, and you could say that it was Pochettino's fault for not motivating these players, but at the end of the day,
he did sort it out though. He got rid of the mercenaries.
He got rid of all of them at the end of the season, and then only signed 2 or 3 players. Quality piece. He signed Son, he signed Toby, and he signed Trippier. It's just a few quality additions to the team, and we were a completely different outfit the next season. And I don't see why the same couldn't be said from Mourinho. I don't see why. I think people are way too quick to write him off. And I know maybe you could argue he's had longer. You could maybe argue the squad was better than it was then, and those are fair. Those are quite fair arguments. But I think to say that, I've seen people on Twitter arguing that Pochettino came in and and with a very similar squad to what Sherwood had, he made us into title contenders very quickly. And I thought that was very just disingenuous to how that situation actually played out.
Well, it was fairly quickly, wasn't it? It was done over maybe a season and a half. He turned it right around.
Yeah, but that glosses over the fact that first of all, he nearly got sacked in his first season, and secondly, he cleared out 13 first-team players in the summer.
Well, Mourinho's had the opportunity to get rid of the deadwood, hasn't he?
Has he, though? Has he really?
He could have done, yeah.
How, when?
We could have done it over the last summer transfer window.
What, in the COVID, when no one was buying anyone?
Okay, well, but he could have made an effort to get rid of a few, couldn't he?
How do you know we didn't?
Well, I guess you don't know, do you?
But I know, but to say in that transfer window when the climate of the window.
So you're saying COVID is just you can't judge Mourinho because of the COVID situation?
No, I'm not saying you can't judge Mourinho. I'm just saying I don't think he's had the opportunity to wean out who he believes is fighting for him or not.
And so would you say the same for this summer transfer window as well?
I think this summer transfer window, maybe with everything opening up again, maybe I think with fans getting back in stadiums, maybe we'll have more opportunity. For example, the Bologna director, we talked about this, and I love it, has been saying that he's very interested in bringing Lamela to the club and stuff like that. So maybe other clubs are maybe looking at signing players again, because I think last summer. And although we did well under the circumstances to get the players in, we did. I still think that it was the spending was cut a lot by. We all know that spending was cut a lot by all the clubs.
We were meant to have a 9 out of 10 transfer window, weren't we?
Were.
Everyone said it was a 9 out of 10 transfer window, so you can't really say that. It was. It was
I
frugal.
think that was a 9 out of 10 given the circumstances, I feel.
Do you remember that? Let's go back to that, because when we're all judging it, most people were like, that was the best transfer window we've ever had. Best one in the Premier League.
I think a lot of that...
Looking back, it's a bit like...
Yeah, I agree. And I look back, it's kind of awkward. But I think a lot of that was, first of all, based on the Reguilon and Bale coming out of nowhere, which were completely unexpected. And it was also based on the fact that, in terms of the positions we improved, we needed a centre midfielder, we got Højbjerg. We needed a backup striker, we got Vinicius. We needed a right back, we got Matt Doherty. We needed a left back, we got Reguilon. So in terms of that, you're looking at it and thinking, what a great transfer window we had. But it's also based on the fact that we were told at the beginning of the transfer window we're not going to have any money to spend, and any money that we do spend is going to be from player sales, and that didn't turn out to be the case. We actually did spend a bit of money without bringing anyone in. But when you look at it from hindsight, our number one priority in the summer, everyone said, was to get a centre back, and we didn't get a centre back. That was our number one priority, and we failed in that aspect to get that number one position, which I think everyone
whose
glossed
fault's
over.
that, would you say?
Well, we all know we wanted Skriniar, isn't it? We went out to meet him. We went out to try and get him, and we didn't stump up the cash. I think that you got to say that's on the board essentially, not to get a centre back.
Big mistake.
Because that could
have cost us.
Pictures of Steve Hitchen with Skriniar's agent, you can't then claim we weren't in for it. We were clearly in for him, but we just didn't stump up the cash. We didn't stump up the extra money to bring him in, and that ultimately cost us a very, very high class centre back. When you look at the players we did bring in, Matt Doherty, we brought in. He's been a complete disaster in terms of what we thought he was going to be and what he's actually been. Vinicius was a loan move. Look, he's been okay. He's done the job, but he hasn't exactly been amazing. But he's been okay. Bale has been a romantic loan deal that hasn't really paid off. And then the other signings in Reguilon, Højbjerg, I think they've been good. I don't think they've been bad, but I think maybe the summer...
We're just treading water, though, aren't we?
It was looked at rose tinted glass. At the moment, in this season, we are.
We are just treading water.
Yeah, but I think we had that new manager about the early days in Mourinho, everyone fighting for him. But I think over times past, and maybe things have happened in the dressing room which were first there under Poch, and now they've resurfaced. And maybe it's something that as a coach, maybe Mourinho just can't. He said
he needs to have a big overhaul, doesn't he?
Yeah, of players who don't want to be here or feel players who are too comfortable here.
Yeah, I've said it all along. I think as much as I don't think it's going to work with Mourinho, I still think that you need to give him another transfer window to do what Poch did and get rid of all the players that he thinks are time wasters or mercenaries or just not caring about the club, not playing for the badge, and then give it 3 months into next season, you'll know that's a Mourinho team now. Even let's say Sim, you can't argue then, can you?
No.
And then you judge it on that. And if we're languishing mid-table or 7th, 8th or something, then I think it's time to move on. But for me, I wouldn't get rid of him at the end of the season. Even if we don't get top 4, I would still give him another transfer window.
I still think when you give managers time. For example, when we gave Poch time to develop his philosophy, because as I said before, we had a very up and down first season under Poch, and we had a lot of issues to sort out. We had a fractured squad. We had a lot of players not fighting for him and not playing for him. But what he did show was when he got those guys out of the team and he had his core players playing, that he could get results. For example, we had that 5-3 win against Chelsea. We had that 2-1 win against Arsenal. We showed that this team does have potential when things are right. But when things are wrong, when we had to use too many untrusted players, things didn't go right. And so when he got them out, we were a different outfit. But he did show potential. And Mourinho now, I want to see from now to the end of the season, that potential that when he has his set of players, that he can get results. And he has shown it at times in this season. Yeah. But
not in the big games, though. But we haven't seen any evidence that we can win against the top teams. Have we at all this whole
City,
season?
Beat Man United.
Well, yeah, but they were not on form. On form, they were in a bit of a trough. Yeah, we happened to play them when they were bang out of form, though.
Okay, but then you could say they happened to play us when we were out of form.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying we haven't really we haven't really beaten a team top half of the table who are in form. Is what I'm saying.
That's
all I'm saying. I also haven't seen us. We haven't really seen Mourinho win a crunch game when we've been under pressure and we've won ugly. You know what I mean? I think the only game really you could say that about is the Fulham game. And it's not a crunch game, but I'm saying we came through that one. It was an ugly game, you know what I mean?
Okay.
But we came through that. So I haven't really seen enough from even just to get over the line in games where you're not playing out your skin. I thought we played well against Villa, personally.
I thought we played fairly ugly.
Actually, one thing I would say about Mourinho, this is something that I like, is that when we've come off the back of a really bad defeat, a real kind of drainer, like the Zagreb game, we did show a little bit of spirit. Normally you'd expect there to be a hangover and something like a feeling of like down in the doldrums, and the whole team's feeling a little bit sorry for themselves. But we did show a reaction, and I also saw a reaction after the Chelsea game against West Brom. I know it's West Brom, but
Yeah.
I was actually surprised. I actually was expecting more of the same, and there to be this like Juan de Ramos feel to it, like tail end of Juan de Ramos. But it almost shows to me that he's getting inside their heads and he's saying something to them. It's like, we're not going to put up with that. Do you want it or not? There seems to be he must be motivating the players after these big defeats, because they do come out and they do show something. So I would have to say credit to him on that one. Because I think in the managers in the past if we had a really big defeat like that, I would see a residual, like a reflection of that in the next game. But I've seen a little bit of I've seen something in the players to show me that he's getting into their heads.
Do you think that Zagreb game was a bit of a line in the sand moment for us in terms of his squad?
In what way?
In a way that maybe he's like, because of how much he changed it on Sunday. Like, do you think that was like a statement, the way he set up that team and the players he picked, and more importantly, the players he didn't pick in that squad? Do you think he was kind of saying, this is what I'm going to go for from now to the end of the season, this is what I expect, this is the level of performance as a minimum I expect, and if you're not going to kind of dig in for the team and be part of this team, then I don't want you playing? Do you think
that was maybe why it was like a bit of a, it was a totally different lineup formation. I think it was like starting a new chapter, wasn't it? And it was a good way to do that, I think. With that game.
So you think it was?
I think that could be like creating a new chapter, and that was maybe the reason for that like completely different lineup.
And do you think paradoxically, going out of Europe, even though it was such a big opportunity for us for another route back into the Champions League, do you think now, from now to the end of the season, the fact we only have one game a week, so we don't have to rotate the squad as much or at all, really, in theory, because you've only got one game a week and pretty much play the same players every week. And we don't have to rely on those untrusted players who were letting us down in previously. Maybe that could be an avenue for success from now to the end of the season. Maybe you could actually have a good end to the season.
Yeah, it could do, yeah, definitely. Especially when other teams are still in cup competition, so it might be good. But you know what we said before, like sometimes the teams that are overworked tend to play better than the teams that have more time. I don't know why that is. Time to recover.
Yeah, but they're overworked but for example, like Man City, all in all four competitions. But Pep has got everyone on side, I guess, in terms of the squad. Everyone he knows, doesn't matter what A, B, or C he puts in, they're going to be pretty much, the standard is going to be the same. It's not really the same for Tottenham.
Yeah, I would like to see Toby back though, I have to say.
In place of who, Sanchez or Rodon?
Well, he's been playing Sanchez quite a bit, so I guess you've got to keep him in there for now. But I think, probably Toby and Sanchez. I mean, I would have liked Toby and Rodon, but I think it's got to the point now in the season where Sanchez has done all right in the last few games, so you've got to keep him in there. But
and do you think Tanganga is an answer for right back?
Yeah.
See, I don't.
Why not? Because he doesn't get forward enough?
I think as a defender, I think Tanganga's a talented young defender. I do, and I think when he's tasked with like staying back and defending, even at fullback, he does a good job. And I think he can mark a winger out the game, and I think he can be very aggressive. I just think when you're at the top level,
he's only 21 though, isn't he?
I know he's only 21.
It's outstanding. I mean, he hasn't actually played that many games, has he?
I know. I'm not saying he's bad or anything. I think he's very good. I think he's very aggressive. And I think, for example, when you're comparing him to someone like Doherty in that position, I'd much rather hear Tanganga play there than Doherty. But I feel like, first of all, we haven't really seen him against a team really, like, for example, who plays like a low block. So when he's tasked to really get forward a lot and really be an outlet on the right hand side, does he really have the quality to like whip in a really good cross or something like that? We don't know that yet. And also when he really needs to be an outlet on the right hand side, like against. Maybe when he, for example, if he's tasked to like ask questions of the opposition winger to make him run back the other way instead of just defending all the time, does he have that in his locker? Well, the questions are there. I don't know.
He's still young. He's still got time to develop. You know.
I think he's a really good defender.
What about as a centre back?
Really good defender.
What about as a centre back?
I think that's way more natural. I feel. I think he's a more natural centre back, and Mourinho sees him as a right back. I don't know if he is. I think he's pigeonholed him maybe too much in that position. And I think he can be a very good defender. As I said, I thought against Villa he played really well. I thought he was pretty much tucking in whenever he had the ball. He wasn't getting forward too much. He wasn't asked to get forward, I don't think, too much. And I think he did that third centre back kind of right back in possession role really well. But whether, like if, for example, if we play like at home to Sheffield United and they're sitting low and he needs to be an outlet on that right hand side and start whipping ball crosses into the box like with real quality and precision and he's always going to be that open player. Whether he's up to that, we have to wait and see. I mean,
how many
know.
goals do we score from crosses anyway? Not that many,
Norwich.
I'd say.
No,
but for me,
you're thinking about Middlesbrough. He did against Middlesbrough.
For me, he's definitely he's at least second choice, if not first choice for me.
I think he's definitely over
Doherty. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
No question. Do you think?
So you'd have Aurier. You'd have Aurier over Tanganga.
I think Aurier is better than Tanganga
because of the delivery. He's got more end product.
Yeah, I think with Aurier, obviously defensively,
Tanganga's better
stronger.
defending though.
I do think
so. Tanganga's a better defender.
I don't think he's better defender in terms of his quality of defending. I think because in terms of being aggressive and being hard to beat, I think Aurier is those things. I just think consistency wise, you're going to get a Tanganga who's going to be consistently throughout that game very hard to beat and very little mistakes. Whereas Aurier, it's a bit Jekyll and Hyde. One game, like he might be really aggressive,
he's calamitous,
and then the next game might give away a penalty, and that's the problem. Whereas Tanganga, you're going to get more consistency. But in terms of being an outlet on the right hand side, I think I still prefer Aurier. I think he provides a better outlet.
Yeah,
well,
they can sort of rotate a little bit throughout the season, but maybe give Aurier the lion's share of games.
We got a super chat here from YP Toretta says, looking back at the past 10 seasons, I think except for 12-13 and 15-16 transfer window, rest of them were wasteful. Well, we can examine those transfer windows. Tottenham all apart from those two transfers.
Can I ask the chat room something whilst you're doing that? So in the chat section, can you say who would be your first choice right back, Aurier, Doherty or Tanganga? So just put their name, maybe in caps, so we know what you're talking about. We got a Doherty. We got a Doherty.
Let's kick him out.
We got a Tanganga. We got an Aurier. Aurier clear. Cameron says.
Aurier clear.
You can't keep saying the same thing. It's a mixed bag there, I have to say. It's a mixed bag.
What do you think have been our most damaging transfer windows?
Ooh, windows over the last few years.
Damaging transfer windows.
Well, the one where we didn't spend anything.
Okay, that's probably. Would you put that as number one?
And then the next one, which we didn't spend anything.
The next one we didn't spend anything.
That's it. That
was the only sum we actually didn't spend anything.
And the January we didn't spend anything.
And the January, yeah. In terms of like summer transfer windows,
don't know, can't remember them.
For me, one of the ones that doesn't get highlighted enough is actually the summer we signed Van der Vaart. I think that was a really damaging transfer window because that was our first season in the Champions League.
How very dare you?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, we got Van der Vaart on the last day, but we had
Crouchy.
We had Crouchy, Pavlyuchenko ran around a bit.
What about Jermaine Defoe?
I think that window was we actually got in the Champions League for the first time, and we thought that the holy grail, the Champions League was going to push us on to actually signing players, and we literally went through that whole summer not signing a single player
until the last day.
Until we signed Van der Vaart on the last day, and we signed William Gallas, a 32-year-old.
Do you know what really bugs me? Right, actually, this is the first time I've actually thought about this and said this, but do you remember all those years that we nearly made Champions League but would finish fifth, and Arsenal would pip us, let's say, and we always used to say, God, if only we got into Champions League, then we'd be able to attract the players that we want. Yeah. And then we finally got into Champions League, and nothing changed. Nothing changed. We never attracted these superstars, did we?
We probably signed.
I actually think that we probably signed
worse.
Yeah,
because
really.
If you think
overall,
about it, when we weren't in Champions League, we signed Modric, we signed Berbatov,
exactly.
We signed all these great players. When we got the Champions League,
where's the superstars?
We just got a last-minute deal for Van der Vaart, and that was it.
But, weren't you sold on that idea that
I was sold
the only reason that we're not in that holy grail where we can be there for years, we can't compete because we're not in the Champions League, so therefore we can't get the superstars. So therefore, it's a catch-22. And then finally we're there.
And whereas even under Poch, we're getting consistent Champions League football. Yet we didn't get.
We weren't attracting these
We weren't. No, we're getting in Kudu still and in G.
Yeah, and then maybe the Amora, but
Lucas.
Good, but not like the superstars.
I do think we can attract a higher caliber of player than we did before, but I still think we're not pushing the belt out enough to get those players over the line. And I agree with that. I think that's been one of my biggest frustrations with the board is that we were sold on this dream that getting Champions League football will take us on another level transfer-wise, and they would argue that the last 2 windows we've been the highest net spenders in the Premier League. So they would argue we have taken up a different approach, but I would say previously they have let us down a bit in that sense.
By the way, what was your verdict on your ENIC 20 years?
Whether he's done a good job or not?
Yeah. Just quickly, because I know you've already done a
we
whole
did a
hour
3-hour
on
stream
it, but
on
just
that.
paraphrase
Look,
summarise it.
I think the
minute.
cliff notes on that is as a club, the way they've built us up and the club we are now to where we took over. Obviously you've got to say they've done a fantastic job with that. But in a sense that they have not respected enough that we are a football club, and when we have had those real key opportunities when we're challenging for big things, for titles and stuff, to really give us that extra boost we needed, with a bit more injection, a bit more risk maybe in those windows, to really say, okay, if we sign this player, we could really seriously challenge for the league now. Instead of that, they've always gone with a cheaper, less risk option.
Yeah, of course.
They've always preferred us to be the underdog looking to overachieve rather than the favourite for something. They've never wanted us to be the favourite. They've always wanted us to be overachieving. That's the only time we've ever gotten success. And that's been the biggest frustration, because I think a few times they could have easily rolled the dice and gone for someone a bit more expensive and got us over the line. And I think we've been a bit too stubborn on those aspects. And that's what's cost us really getting the big trophies. But from business side and from a club's and from in terms of the profile of the club, they've improved us immeasurably, and you can't.
No, the business from a business side, it's been great. You've really stabilised things and built the brand up and the stadium, everything else. But from an actual footballing side, it's been poor, I think.
But I wouldn't say it's been poor, because they have got us into where we were from a footballing side, because we were mid-table fodder before they took over. Now we're regulars, at least in Europe, and mostly and a lot recently in Champions League. So you got to say that from a football side, it's an improvement.
Well, I don't think so, because think about it. I mean,
it is. Come on.
From where? From which position?
From being mid-table.
Oh, from in 2001,
where they took us over from.
Yeah,
we hadn't finished in the top 4 for 16 years when they took us over.
Yeah, no, from that respect, yeah, I would agree with that. That has improved, but overall, I'd say just in terms of like you say, the amount of investment from when we're nearly on that precipice of going to the next level, it hasn't been there.
But the problem is they've actually screwed themselves over. I'll tell you why. Yeah. Because they have spent so much money on average players who are cheaper. If they would have, if you put all that money together they spent on like G and Nkudu and Stambouli and Capu and these kind of players, if you put all that money together, right, you could easily get for that kind of money like 2 or 3 top
marquee signings.
Exactly,
that's always been my problem.
But they decided to always go for the cheaper option and go for more. And
also, you'll find that we're not proactive, we're always reactive, I find. And we never really show that level of ambition in the transfer market, apart from if we were to sell like a Harry Kane, right? I can guarantee you they'd show a lot of ambition to replace him, a hell of a lot of ambition. But they will never show a big ambition to sign a player unless we lose a big key player. That's the problem. Let
me ask you about Harry Kane. There's been a lot of talk about him last 24 hours. There's actually been conflicting reports. So Sunday morning, there was a very reliable journalist called David Ornstein. I don't know if you know who he is. David Ornstein. He basically was on Sky Sports News saying he's heard from the general consensus from what he's heard from his contacts is that Kane would very much like to leave in the summer, but it's unlikely because Levy would demand around 120 million, and in this current climate, that kind of figure is kind of unrealistic to be parting with when all the uncertainty about fans and stuff, whatever. Yeah. So he's saying categorically that the consensus is Kane would like to leave in the summer, and that obviously got everyone saying, where's he going to go? Who's going to sign him? Blah blah blah. But yesterday he then was on his podcast and he said he's actually spoken to more contacts in the last 24 hours, and he said there is a belief with the contacts close to the club that Kane is likely to spend the rest of his career at Tottenham. So where do you stand on that?
As in, what do I want, or what do I think?
Not what you want. Obviously, we all want Kane to stay. You want Kane to stay, I'm assuming, right?
Well, yeah, I guess so. But I
guess so.
Yeah, because it's not completely cut and dry for me.
Why?
Because I think sometimes you can. Everything goes through Kane at the moment when we watch us play, you know. And I actually think that sometimes if he's not totally on it, I think we look worse with him in the side. That's my unpopular opinion. I'll give you an example. In 2018, in the Champions League run, he wasn't really at it. I thought that was one of his worst seasons for us. What do you mean?
He was injured.
No, that season before the injury, I actually thought that
when he on the Champions League run.
That season. That season.
The whole season.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I noticed that everything was going through him, and he was slowing the play down a little bit. And actually, when he wasn't playing, we actually looked better, I thought. And actually, Son was stepping up when he wasn't picked. Right.
Do you not think that maybe as a consequence of the team failing rather than just him?
Well, also, look at the Everton game when he didn't start this season. I thought we were absolutely electric.
Yeah, but look at the Chelsea game when he didn't. We
Sorry.
And Brighton as well.
Yeah, but I think he changed the formation up to make it like fresher up front, the 4 forwards. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So there is life after Kane, is what I'm saying, and it could be like the Coutinho factor. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I understand what you're saying, but I don't.
Yeah.
But Kane, do you not think he's such a talisman, and because he's such a figurehead of the club, that it'll have more detrimental effects than say selling?
I think
Coutinho?
we'd suffer for a couple seasons, but then we'd recover, and then we could potentially, as long as we invested
like
right.
Bale. We suffered for a couple seasons.
Yeah, but then we look stronger. Exactly. I think we would have. Yes, exactly like that. That's exactly how I see it going. Yeah, if that happened. Yeah. Yeah.
But would you say if we got an offer of 120 million?
I want more.
You want more?
Yeah,
so you would say we reject that?
That's not a lot these days, is it?
Not much, yeah.
No.
But
and what's that going to get you? That's probably going to get you two or three players.
2 players maybe.
Yeah.
Like
it's hardly the 7 players.
But let's say you get either the options are you get 120 million now, or he runs down his contract in 4 years' time and goes on a free. What would you do? Sorry,
I just noticed the comment now. I'm going to come back to that, Cameron. So say that one again.
Oh, so what are you coming back to? The comment or me?
No, I'll come back to Cameron's comment. Sorry, say it again.
I'm saying you've got two choices.
Yeah.
You sell him this summer for 120 million, or you let him run down his contract and he goes on a free in 4 years' time.
Ooh. Do you think that would ever happen?
I'm giving you the scenarios. These are the two you have to pick
I would say take the money now.
Take the money now?
Yeah, rather than let the contract run down.
Really?
Yeah.
But what about if
can we do 135?
135?
Yeah.
No, 120.
Can we negotiate on that one?
I think it's a tough one. I think I would keep him.
Okay. What, till his contract ran down? You're all about the money, though, aren't you? That was your argument with Dembele. I wanted to keep Dembele.
Yeah, that was different.
You said, but we're being offered 10 million.
Yeah, that's different because he had 6 months left.
Right.
And he was so injury prone that year that he barely played that whole season.
Could have played the following season.
Sorry?
We could have signed him up again, a rolling contract or something like that. Play as you pay, or pay as you play. But can I come to Cameron's question? Okay. Because he's made a good point. He says, John, remember you said Kane hasn't been sharp since Liverpool 2018. Good memory, Cameron. I like the fact he's remembered that.
Wow.
Because
he's got receipts.
Right, keeping tabs, Cameron. I like that. Because I would say, would you not agree that Kane is having a much better season than last season?
Yeah.
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 So this is my point. So last season, I was talking about how Kane wasn't quite at it. And there was he wasn't really showing enough for me. Okay. And I actually said he wasn't. I don't think he was world class last season. And then you were like up in arms about it. Like, what do you mean he's not world class? Of course he's world class.
He's world class.
But would you not agree that there's been a serious uptick in his performance this season from last season? Yeah. So now, if you were to imagine next season he puts in a performance like last season, you'd have to say that it's not good.
So next season, it's not good. I would just say it's dipped.
Yeah,
but it's still world class level.
So when we were talking last,
it's like when Ronaldo got 50 goals and then one season he got 30. It's worse, but it's still world class.
So we did a video last season, and I said he is dipped at the moment this season, and you were like, no.
I actually agreed with that, but no, what I disagreed with,
I said
you said he's not world class. That's what I disagreed with.
But I also said he dipped.
Yes, and
we were talking about the Trippier video.
I agreed he dipped.
Yeah. Oh, you did?
No, I agreed.
I thought you didn't.
That Kane wasn't at the level.
Because I said he wasn't at the peak of his power, and you're like, what do you mean he's not at the peak of his power?
That's what I disagreed with.
Okay. Because that's what I was saying. That was my argument.
I know, but but your argument was he wasn't world class.
And I said he wasn't at the peak of his power.
Yeah,
but I don't think he was last season. I don't think he was.
What?
World class last season.
Why not?
I think he's got world class ability, but I don't think last season he was world class. But I mean, it's a difficult one because
Well,
it's
he was
difficult to
injured, but he was
say
injured for
what
a
is
large
actually
part.
world class. And even this season, I would say that he's been very, very influential. But
Oh, come on. He's been world class. He's been the best
let's
player in
let's
Europe.
be honest. Who's he done it against the big teams this season? Like scored?
Who's he scored against
Yeah.
the big teams? Scored a brace against United. Got man of the match against Man City. I don't think he scored though, but he got man of the match.
Yeah, goals.
He got man of the match though.
Okay.
Doesn't that mean
Well, less
something?
the goals though.
He scored against can't remember. He scored against West Ham. He got a couple.
Oh, come on, West
Yeah,
Ham.
but they're fifth.
Yeah, I know,
He
but like,
scored against Arsenal.
mm,
He scored against who
There's
else
not
he
many,
scored
is there?
against?
see what I mean? Like, and I don't
Came
think
on and scored
for
against
me,
Everton.
world class. Do you want to talk a little bit about world class? The factors that make world class. For me,
Okay.
world class is a player that can rescue you in games. You know, just pull a rabbit out of the hat when you desperately need it, and it just when the team's not really doing much, he's just able to pull one out. And I don't think we've really seen that from Kane this season. You know, that kind of rescue factor. That's important for me for judging a player.
I think we have.
Well, a
Sometimes.
goal that's just completely rescued us out of nothing.
But that requires. Has we seen a goal that's rescued us out of nothing?
Yeah, like a 30-yarder, just like a rescue job.
Trying to think. Not necessarily. Not
Yeah.
rescue one. Obviously,
That
he
for
got
me
that goal
is a
against
world.
Palace.
That,
but
that to me makes a player completely world class.
well, when the going gets tough,
Yeah.
you're the one to
Just
drag
pull one
your
out.
team
Yeah,
up.
like Bale did. You know, like Sunderland when we needed to win that last game. Like he was able to pull that goal
Yeah,
out.
but I get that. But
Or the
when
West Ham last minute against West Ham that season. You know,
I
that
know.
for me is like world class.
I think Kane can do that. Maybe he hasn't
He
done
can
it too
he can do that, but he hasn't done that.
Maybe he hasn't
for a
done
while.
that too many times this season. But I think his output
Oh yeah.
is so strong that I think it
Do you think he's going to win Player of the Season?
I think he deserves to. I think he's
Really?
I think he deserves to.
Mm.
Who do you think is more worthy?
Bruno Fernandes is going to
Why?
win it.
Why? Do
I
you
think Bruno Fernandes is
just
going to win
because
it.
United are above us.
Not just that. I think he's actually won more Player of the Month as well.
Yeah, no, that's irrelevant.
No, not in deciding who wins the.
Why?
Player.
Why is that relevant?
Because when they come to adjudicate it, that's going to play a factor, isn't it?
Nah,
They're
I
going to
don't
look at it
care
on
who
paper.
won Player of the Month? I don't care about that.
I just think he will. Bruno Fernandes will win it.
No, but what? No, but do you think he's been better than Kane?
Yeah,
Why?
I do. I just do.
No, he hasn't.
Yeah. I think he'll win Player of the Year. Ahead of Kane. I think he will.
Do you not just think if we were above Man United at the moment, I think Kane would be front runner?
Well, why aren't we? Maybe it is because of Kane.
No, it's not because of Kane. We're not above him. But I think it's because they're second and we're sixth at the moment.
Listen, I'm happy to put a bet on. I think Bruno will beat Kane to Player of the Year.
I think he might as well, but I don't think he deserves to.
Do you want 20 quid on it?
Sure.
Okay. We're not allowed to
We're
touch.
not allowed to shake.
I mean, I'd love it if...
We're allowed to do
yeah,
a distance
yeah, we'll
shake.
do that, yeah.
I might have to pin my hopes on Kane now.
Okay.
Could be 20 quid short.
Stop the hate on Harry Kane, though.
We got a super chat. Where was that? Where was that super chat? Manny Man says Kane hamstring has been permanently slowed him down. Do you think that his hamstring's permanently slowed
John
him
always
down?
on the flip side. No, I like to just be a little
Flip.
bit against the grain, you know?
Well, I think Bruno's probably favourite for the grade.
Is he?
For the yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's a good bet then.
scored a penalty against top six. What about Bruno's record against the top six? Why don't you bring that into play?
Yeah, okay. Not good?
No.
He
He scored a penalty against us,
Mm.
and he scored a penalty against recently against City. That's it.
Bruno Fernandes.
So why does that not come into it? But does
Well,
for Kane?
okay, yeah, fair point.
So is
I'm just
Kane
reading
going to win it now?
Yeah, I'm changing mine. Good point, yeah, whoever said that. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right.
That was a good super chat. But yeah, but what do you not think Kane is world class?
I'll tell you what I like this season that he wasn't shown last season is that he's dropped deeper and he's playing such a pivotal role to build up play now. He never really did that. I think he's always had the quality there, and I think his passing's always been there. It's not like he's developed that. I think he's always had the range of passing. He was never in that position to play that role, but all his talents are being used now in different areas on the pitch. Whereas before he just played the goal scorer. Now he's playing almost like centre mid, defender, attack. Cam, striker. He's playing the all-action hero. So for me, he's been the ultimate team player this year. And actually, at the beginning of the season, he said he looked at his FIFA ratings and he said, "Oh, my passing's low on this."
Yeah, he
did
did
say
say
that.
that.
Do you remember that?
He did.
And he goes, at the end of the season,
Come on.
he winks at the camera. He goes, "That's going to come up this season."
Definitely will now. Definitely will.
Who do you think's going to win it, Ben?
Ruben
Oh,
Diaz.
Ben's gone for Diaz.
It's not a bad shout, seeing as how they're playing at the moment, City, and how they've been throughout the season. And I think they're walking to the title. Do you reckon City could win all 4 competitions?
Sorry?
Do you reckon they could do the quadruple, City?
Who knows, mate? Who knows?
They're not going to win the Carabao.
Yeah, not going to win the Carabao.
That's probably the only one there. For sure.
Can I ask another one for the chat? Another one for the chat. Who do you think is your player of the year, Premier League player of the year?
That's what we just discussed.
No, but I'm going to ask them to put it in the comments.
Sorry, go on.
Because Frank wants us to constantly. Do you remember?
Yeah, I want to know from the fan. I want to know if there's any outside
Right, so
the box
who do you think?
people
Just
I'm not
one.
thinking
Who
of.
do you think is going to win player of the year?
And also, obviously, Son was in contention for us.
Yeah, I actually thought for
up until last few weeks.
Yeah.
But he's been injured. He's going to come back fit and firing at the end hopefully for the last 9 games after
Doherty.
the international break. Doherty, Harry Kane.
How do you
Harry
pronounce
Kane.
that? Is that an Irish name? Darmard.
Doherty.
No, Darmard.
Doherty.
No, I know how to pronounce Doherty. The person that wrote it, Diarmuid Forest.
I don't know.
How you pronounce that.
Diarmuid. Lingard, someone said. Carlos Vinicius. Lingardinho.
Slav.
Stones. Slav. Love that. Granit
Eric
Xhaka.
Dyer, yeah.
Love Harry Kane. Dane Scarlett. He can maybe go young player of the year.
Lingardinho.
All right.
We haven't really disagreed much either today.
No, we have.
Ben's upset.
We disagreed a bit on Delhi. We disagreed a bit on Harry Kane.
No, there's disagreeing and there's going at it.
We haven't really gone at it yet, have
Not
we?
like stats. Should we bring up the stats to
Oh God.
All right.
Gundogan's a shout as well.
Gundogan is a shout. Gundogan is a shout. Souček. All right. Well, I think we've run out of time. So
that's a wrap.
That is a wrap. I appreciate all the views, all the comments, all the super chats as well, and all the comments on Twitter. Really do appreciate all the interaction. Really enjoy the show, John.
Yeah, thanks,
again.
mate. Thank
really
you
enjoyed
very
having
much.
you on again.
Diarmuid, by the way, it's pronounced Diarmuid. Okay, Diarmuid Forest. Yeah.
Alexander Volponi said 3.4 endorphins.
Yeah, he still remembers.
Everyone's talking about that.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Exactly. I hope you got many endorphins for watching us. Discuss Spurs. Thanks again, John, for coming on.
Cheers, matey.
We'll have content out tomorrow. We're going to have the watch along with England, and obviously we're going to have content all the way through the international break before we come back against Newcastle on the 4th of April. So stick and watch out for that. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.